On day 23, my cat did something she had never done in the entire 4 years she had been living with me. I had been sitting in that exact same chair, at the exact same time every evening, doing just one thing, slowly closing my eyes and looking toward her. No calling her name, no reaching out, no saying anything, just that. And I recorded everything that happened in a small notebook resting on my lap. The first week, nothing happened, as she just looked at me and then looked away. The second week, something started to change, but it was not what I expected. On day 23, a moment happened that I could not explain right then, and I will tell you about it at the end of this video. You should save this video, because what I found on day 23 is something most cat owners never get to experience. And once you understand it, you will never look at your cat the same way again. I had known about the slow blink for years, reading about it and watching videos about it, but I had never actually done it systematically. The problem is that almost every guide says the exact same thing, which is to try it once to see if the cat blinks back. If they do not, then your cat is not responsive, and I think that way of understanding it is completely wrong. A slow blink is not a button you press, it is a language. And a language needs to be learned by both sides. I wanted real data, not just feelings, and not just luck. I set up a simple protocol, which meant the same spot, the same time, a distance of about 3 feet, which is about 1 meter, with no sound and no movement. Just slow blinking and taking notes every single day for 30 days straight. Before I tell you what happened, I need to tell you one thing that most videos about slow blinking leave out. When I first read the research from the University of Sussex, I thought I understood it. Closing your eyes slowly means I trust you. Simple as that. But when I read more closely into how they designed the experiment, I realized I had missed the most important part. The 2020 study at the University of Sussex did not just say the slow blink is a signal of trust. They said it is an intentional invitation to communicate, and what makes it work is not the blink itself, but the entire context around it. Body posture, distance, and having nothing threatening in the environment. In the wild, closing your eyes in front of another animal is taking a complete risk. Cats only do it when their nervous system has finished evaluating and concluded that this is an absolutely safe place. Every slow blink a cat makes is a conscious decision, not a reflex. And I realized I had been doing it wrong for years. I used to blink at her whenever I wanted, in any room, at any time. That is not a language. That is just noise. The question was never whether the slow blink works. The question is whether you are creating enough conditions for your cat to decide that answering is safe. On the first day, I sat down, blinked 3 times slowly, and then wrote in my notebook that there was no response. And she looked away after 4 seconds. Day 3, day 5, day 7, it was exactly the same. She would look at me, then get up and go somewhere else. I started to think this experiment was a failure. But then I remembered a detail in a University of Lincoln study about how cats respond to new behaviors. Cats do not respond right away when they have not recognized a pattern yet. Their nervous systems are optimized for threat detection, meaning any strange behavior is put into a pending verification state first. They do not respond until they have enough data points to conclude the behavior is real and consistent. No response does not mean they did not notice. No response means they are gathering data. I stopped looking at those times she looked away as failures. I started looking at them like she was running a test. She was asking if this is a pattern she can trust, or if this is just something random. And I had not given her enough data to answer yet. This is what I wish I had understood sooner, that a cat being silent is not a rejection. It is an evaluation, and the only way to get past it is to keep showing up. If you have ever tried to slow blink and felt like it did not work, what I am about to tell you about the second week is exactly why. That is the kind of thing this channel exists to figure out. On day 10, for the first time, she did not look away right after I blinked. She paused for about 3 more seconds. On day 12, her ears rotated slightly toward me, and her tail was no longer twitching slightly like the previous times. On day 14, she sat down instead of standing. If I had not been taking notes, I would have missed all of this. The second week looked almost identical to the first week, if you only looked with your naked eye. But according to the University of Sussex study, this is exactly the stage they call acknowledging without responding. The cat is processing the signal, but does not trust it enough to reply yet. The University of Lincoln study on stress indicators in cats shows that tail twitching and ear rotation are two measurable signs of an alert state. When they decrease, the nervous system is starting to lower its guard. In other words, she still had not blinked back, but her body had started to trust me. The change was not in her eyes, it was in her body. And I only saw it because I was looking for it. She was listening. She just was not ready to answer. And this is when things started getting more interesting, because the third week changed everything. On day 16, I blinked 3 times slowly, and she looked straight into my eyes. Then came a slow blink, which was short, about half a second. I looked down at my notebook, and then looked back, and she was looking out the window like nothing had happened. I wrote it down with a question mark, wondering if that really happened. On day 19, it was much clearer, as she blinked back, then moved closer by about 6 inches, or about 15 centimeters, and laid down. The Sussex study confirms this, stating that when a cat blinks back and moves closer at the same time, those are 2 actions that must happen together to mean something. Blinking alone is not enough, as moving closer is the confirmation. And science actually backs this up, showing that what looks like a tiny and easily missed moment is actually her nervous system making a measurable decision. She was not just being polite, she was recalibrating her threat assessment. And this time, I was included in it. By the end of the 3rd week, I was no longer running an experiment. I was having a conversation, very slow, very quiet, but real. From the 3rd week on, it was not just the slow blink sessions that changed. The whole day changed. She started choosing to sit closer when I worked. Not on top of me, but in the same area, about 3 feet, which is about 1 meter, away, facing me. When I walked from one room to another, a few minutes later she would show up there too. In the evenings, she started lying down facing me instead of turning her back. It was a small change, but in cat language, that is something very intentional. John Bradshaw, a cat behavior researcher at the University of Bristol, documented that how cats choose to be nearby is one of the most reliable indicators of bonding. Not meowing, not rubbing, but the cat choosing to be in the same place for no other specific reason. She did not come over because she was hungry, and she did not come over because she was cold. She came over because I was where she wanted to be. I did not do anything else except sit in that same chair and blink. But 30 days of consistency communicated something I had been trying to tell her for the last 4 years. The slow blink was not the main point. The slow blink was proof that I would show up the same way, every day, no matter what. And that was what she was waiting to confirm. Day 23, in the evening. I did not sit down to do a session that day. I was just reading a book on the couch. I was not thinking about the experiment, and the notebook was still in the drawer. I looked up, and she was sitting across the room, looking right at me. I did not blink first. I just looked back at her. She held my gaze, and then she initiated a slow blink first. Clear, intentional, and unmistakable. For 30 days, I was always the one to start. It was always me opening the conversation. It was always me waiting to see if she would respond. This was the first time she started it. It was not a response. It was not mimicking. It was actively opening up. What that means scientifically is that cats only initiate a slow blink when they have accepted that signal as part of a shared language. It was no longer something external forced upon her. It had become our thing. She had learned it, not the way you teach a trick, but the way you learn a language when you have heard it enough times from someone you trust. She was no longer replying. She was starting a conversation. And in 4 years, that had never happened before. What I want you to take away from this video is not just to go slow blink at your cat. Most viewers will try it once, see nothing, and then conclude that their cat does not respond to that kind of thing, and they will give up. What they are missing is not the technique, it is the time. Cats do not trust based on one moment. Cats trust based on a pattern repeated enough times for their nervous system to confirm that this is real. One slow blink is a gesture, while 30 times is proof. On day 23, when she looked across the room and blinked first, she was not doing something cute. She was telling me, in the only language her nervous system knows how to use, that I had become consistent enough to trust, safe enough for her to close her eyes in front of me. That is not just a blink. That is your cat deciding, after 30 days of watching you show up the exact same way, that you are someone worth betting her safety on. That is not a habit, and that is not instinct. That is home. If this video changed how you look at your cat, I have another video about what your cat is actually doing every time they make biscuits on you. And I promise you, it is not what you think, and it is not a habit. It is not seeking warmth. Their bodies are recalling something much older than the relationship between you and them. That video picks up exactly where this one ends.